A lie, a line, a life falls. Have you ever woken up and realized nothing from today on will ever be the same again? I used to think that life-altering events arrived with thunder and urgent midnight call, a dramatic confrontation, or at least something big enough to warn you ahead of time. But the truth is, some moments that change your entire life begin in silence so subtle, you don't realize anything has happened until much later. That morning was one of those, just an ordinary morning. Sunlight filtered through the white curtains, scattering soft patterns across the wooden floor. I had just brewed espresso, same as always, and sat in my usual chair by the window. The laptop was already open from the night before, still showing the draft file for Echo. We had a big investor call scheduled. Sophia said she'd send the revised financials today. I opened my inbox and saw her email, no subject, no attachments. I clicked, and there it was. Just a short paragraph. No greeting, no closing, no signature. You are a genius, but I've decided to live in reality. At first, I didn't understand. I even let out a quiet laugh, thinking maybe Sophia was trying to start a joke. Or maybe this was just part of a longer message accidentally sent too soon. I scrolled down, checked for quoted text or replies. Nothing. That was it. I sat still. It felt like I'd stepped out of the moving timeline. Everything around me was the same, the soft hum of the fan, the smell of coffee, the laptop screen glowing. But inside, I wasn't sure where I was. I opened the messaging app, typed, "Sophia, are you okay? I'm not sure what you mean." No response. 10 minutes, 20, an hour. I kept waiting. Just last week, we were talking about our trip to Japan after the IPO. She had sent me a French recipe on Friday. Everything seemed fine, at least to me. So what had happened? Was this a misunderstanding? An emotional test? A bad joke at the wrong moment? I refused to believe she was leaving. Not Sophia, not the woman who held my hand every night, who stayed up debugging code with me, who once said, "You're the one thing I never thought I deserved." I checked her email every hour, sent a few more messages, tried calling her phone was off. But I wasn't afraid yet. I was just confused, unsure what was happening, and still holding on to the childish hope that by tomorrow morning, everything would be back to normal. No one teaches you how to process a goodbye without words, especially when there's no anger, no argument, no obvious mistake. Just silence, a gentle disappearance that leaves you wondering, did I ever really know her at all? And that morning passed just like that. No tears, no slammed doors, just the faint sense that something had cracked, but I didn't yet know what or how deeply. I had no idea it would be the last day I'd still be me. Deep love doesn't just disappear overnight. The first feeling after that shock wasn't anger. It wasn't even pain. It was confusion. A strange in-between state where everything made sense and didn't, calm like I was, trying to solve a puzzle with missing pieces. I replayed the last few days. Every conversation, every plan. The handwritten notes Sophia left on the kitchen table. Unread messages still in our chat. Just a week ago, we were planning our trip to Japan. She'd been excited about Kyoto, sent me pictures of Fushimi Inari Shrine. I joked, what if I end up representing a sake brand after our IPO? She texted back, deal. Everything was still here. From the towel she always wrapped her hair with, to the fuzzy slippers under her desk chair. If someone walked into our apartment, they wouldn't believe the person who lived here had just vanished. I began convincing myself, she's just overwhelmed. She needs space. Maybe something serious happened, but it's not about me. Maybe she'll come back. Maybe I just need to give her time. That belief wasn't blind faith. It was habit. I had lived with Sophia for almost 2 years. I knew how she folded her shirts, her moods, that she went quiet when anxious, talkative when joyful. I believed in the patterns, trusted that something so familiar couldn't vanish overnight. I used to think, if love was deep and true, it wouldn't just disappear. At the very least, it would signal its exit. A tough conversation, a cold silence, a slow drift, but not a single line of text. And so I started dissecting everything. The way she looked at me after each presentation, the way she hugged me after sleepless nights, the meals she cooked and ate alone when I stayed late at the office. Had she been slowly pulling away? Or had I simply refused to see it? I even asked myself, was it love? Or something I convinced myself was real because I needed it to be? Because I needed someone to see me as a man, not just a tech genius? Maybe I, the boy who always felt lacking, had poured too much meaning into something fragile. Once, Sophia told me, I don't care about your money. I care about whether you're really here whole, present when I need you. I had replied in silence with a ring I never gave her. It's still in the drawer. I was waiting until after the IPO. I wanted it to be perfect. I thought we had time. And yet, it all ended with a single short line. A line that read like a bullet point in a report, neat, cold, and devoid of emotion. No one had ever left me like that, and I had never felt so small. I didn't understand, and because I didn't understand, I couldn't accept it. I told myself, she'll call tomorrow. I believed there would be an explanation, but the next day was silent, and the day after that, and with each passing day, the silence became heavier. Maybe this wasn't just a bad dream. Maybe she really was gone. And maybe I had never truly known the person lying next to me all this time. She disappeared completely. No calls, no trace, no goodbye. I don't remember exactly what day it was after that email. I just know that I woke up, made coffee, opened my laptop like every other morning, and stared at an inbox that remained painfully empty. No new messages, no follow-up, no missed calls, not a single trace. I started calling Sophia. No answer. I sent a few messages. Are you okay? I'm worried. What's going on? They all failed to deliver. The app reported, user no longer active. I emailed again. Her address still existed but showed no activity, no reply, no bounce back. Just nothing. I tried to stay calm. Maybe something happened. Maybe she needed time. Maybe this wasn't about me. But by noon, When I called her office, the receptionist said, "We're sorry. This location closed down yesterday." I thought I misheard. I asked again. They confirmed the Los Angeles office had vacated. No forwarding address, no record of Sophia. That's when it began. Not panic, but a slow, rising terror. The kind that creeps from your spine to your chest, settling deep like a weight you can't lift. I called our lawyer, the one who helped draft the business accounts we had opened together. There was a long pause. Then he said, "You might want to check the jointly held assets." I rushed home, pulled every folder, opened my laptop, logged into our systems, and exactly what I feared. Every bank account originally held jointly under our name had been legally transferred. All funding related to Echo was now under the name of an unfamiliar company, registered in a remote state, under a firm I had never heard of. Even the prototype code repository of Echo, I couldn't access it. Not hacked, removed, legally, because I had trusted, because I had signed. And then I sat, in silence, in a penthouse that once made me proud. The screen in front of me simply read, "Access denied." I stared at it for minutes, maybe hours. I don't know anymore. All I knew was I couldn't feel where my body ended and my mind began. I didn't cry. I just went wordless. The kind of silence that comes when a complex engine collapses inside you and nothing clicks anymore. I used to think if I ever lost everything, it would be because of a failed business deal, or a market crash, or a reckless risk. But I never imagined it would come from the person who once cooked beside me, who stayed up late sketching Echo, who dreamed out loud with me. The worst part wasn't losing the money, or the company. It was being written out of a story I thought I belonged to. Like the main character suddenly deleted from the script at the very peak of the arc. It's not losing the money that breaks you. It's losing the ability to trust again. People often talk about losing everything: money, fame, titles. But no one teaches you how to face a loss far worse. The loss of trust. I used to think I was strong. I'd survived ruthless deals, underhanded tactics, backstabbing in business, yet I always bounced back. Because I still had faith. In work, in results, in myself. But this time, it was different. This time, what got stolen wasn't in the bank account. It was something quieter, something deeper. That quiet moment of collapse, when you realize there's no place in the world where your heart feels safe anymore. I sat in the same luxury penthouse where we used to host champagne nights with investors. The abstract art still hung on the walls. The wine was still in the fridge. The pool still sparkled in the afternoon sun. But nothing tasted the same. I opened my computer. One more time. The first line of Echo's code was still there. To those who still believe. A dedication. A promise. And yet I didn't believe anymore. The pain wasn't in seeing the software renamed or owned by someone else. It was in seeing it still function, still grow, still be celebrated. Without the man who wrote its soul, the world doesn't wait, and betrayers don't come back for apologies. I thought I'd be angry, thought I'd want to destroy everything. But no rage left, only emptiness. What broke wasn't the project. It was something more fragile: trust. Trust that I could open up again. Trust that someone could truly care without a hidden agenda. Trust that love could exist without needing a backup plan. When that's gone, you're no longer yourself. I began looking at everyone with suspicion. Every compliment felt like a setup. Every kindness got dissected for hidden motives. Worse than all, I started doubting even my own emotions. That night, I lay alone. No lights. Curtains drawn. The city sounds outside felt distant, like a world I no longer belonged to. And I wondered, how long does it take to learn to trust again? Or maybe it's a skill that once lost never returns. No one lies to you about that part. No one warns you. Losing money just makes you poor. Losing trust, that's what makes you someone else. I was no longer Victor, the guy who believed technology could save the world. No longer the boy who wrote code to help his mother manage grocery debt. I was just a man, sitting in an oversized apartment, wondering if anyone ever truly comes to you without wanting your code, your company, or your IPO plan. Maybe losing money was just the first fall. But losing the ability to trust, that's the push that sends you spiraling with no bottom. Was it foolishness or just a longing to be loved? Maybe those who've never truly loved won't understand this feeling. That quiet, unbearable moment when you sit alone, replaying your best memories, not to smile, but to ask, were they ever real? Or was it just the illusion of being loved? I didn't trust Sophia because of her words. I trusted her because of the way she looked at me. The way her eyes lingered long enough for me to believe, this person sees me. She's not here for the money or the reputation. She sees past the ambition, past the charminto, the wreckage I don't show. Looking back, it was that hunger to be seen, to be understood, that blinded me. I didn't need flattery. I'd had enough of that for years. What I craved was someone who stayed, even when I had nothing left to prove. And somehow, Sophia made me believe she was that person. I remember her embraces after long work nights, her quiet dinners, the music she'd played, the way she'd say, "Let's not think tonight." I thought that was love. Now, I'm not so sure. I spent an entire afternoon opening photo after photo. France, Santorini, that midnight flight back to San Francisco where she dozed on my shoulder. Each image was beautiful. Each moment felt real. But if all of it was real, why did the person behind it vanish? I reread our messages. Still warm, still gentle. Even during our disagreements, she never raised her voice. No sign, no warning. Which is why I began doubting myself. Was I stupid? Or did I just want love so badly that I ignored what I didn't want to see? She once asked me, "Do you think someone can love you and still have their own mission?" I laughed and said, "If it's real love, that mission will have space for two." Looking back, maybe that was the wrong answer. Or maybe it was just the answer of someone loving alone. When someone chooses to betray you, they don't need a complex reason. Just one simple justification they can whisper to themselves. This isn't wrong. But the one left behind, the one betrayed, will turn over every word, every hug, every laugh, trying to find the line where it turned fake. But the more you look, the less sure you become. That's the worst part. Not the lie, but the doubt it plants in your memory. I used to pride myself on reading people. I taught my HR team how to spot sincerity in eye contact. I spoke at conferences about emotional frequency when choosing partners. And yet I didn't see it. A whole year, I kept replaying her words, her decision to be on the shared account, her silence, the kind that made me trust, not question. She never made promises, never said, "I'll always be here." But every gesture whispered that message. I don't blame her. I blame myself for wanting so badly to believe, so badly, that I ignored every signal, every warning, every moment that should have made me stop and ask, why does this feel too perfect? Now, even I don't know. Was I a fool? Or just a man who desperately wanted to be loved, truly, deeply, unconditionally? It's not the betrayal that destroys you, it's knowing you walked yourself into it. It's strange, isn't it? People talk about betrayal like it's something someone does to you. A cold act, a calculated move, a wound from the outside. But in my case, there was no gun to my head, no manipulation, no forged documents, no shadowy deals behind my back. Every decision was mine, voluntary, willing, and that's what gutted me. I remember the first time Sophia suggested putting her name on the business account. She said, "You're a genius, Victor, but you need someone to balance the room. If I'm listed beside you, investors will feel safer." I nodded without hesitation, not because she convinced me, but because I wanted to believe that's what people who love each other do. When you love someone, you trust. No clauses, no caution, no calculations. I'd said something similar on national television once. I wish I could erase that interview now. I kept asking myself, why was I so quick to trust? Maybe because I didn't grow up watching a love that endured. My father was stern. My mother was silent. They stayed together out of duty, not desire. I wanted more. I wanted something true, something beyond contracts and logic. But maybe that longing was what led me to the cliff. Step by step, I crossed every line and called it love. No one fooled me. I fooled myself. I told myself Sophia was different, that this was the right person, the right time, that I didn't need to double-check the paperwork, that someone who loves you would never hurt you. And now, the pain isn't that she left. It's that I opened the door, cleared the path, and handed everything over. It was my hand that sent the source code, my decision to expand into Europe, my idea to bring her to every investor meeting, every pitch. No one forced me. No one pushed me. I walked myself into the fire. I once read in Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. And here I was, unable to undo the past, unable to unsend that final email, unable to rewind the night she first stepped into my life. All I could do was stand in front of the mirror and face the most brutal truth. I wasn't betrayed by her. I was betrayed by my own decisions. There was no one left to blame, no place to hide, and that's where the real pain began. Not from what was taken from me, but from the realization that I gave it away. He turned everything off, disappeared from the world of tech for 10 days. I used to be the kind of person who couldn't go an hour without checking emails. A missed call made me restless. My calendar was always full: meetings, investor check-ins, media interviews, product reviews. That morning, just hours after realizing I had lost everything, I turned off my phone. For the first time in 8 years. No auto reply, no forwarding instructions, no explanations. I just vanished. I taped over the laptop camera, unplugged the Ethernet cord, took off my watch, told myself, it's not that I want to live, I just don't want to see anything else. No one knew where I went. No one could reach me. I withdrew cash, booked a tiny motel room across the bay in Oakland, somewhere no one would look. Not to rest, but to erase myself. Each day, I woke up past noon, didn't open the curtains, didn't eat breakfast, didn't turn on the lights. Just lay there, staring at the faint glow seeping in through the blinds. My mind floated, numb, directionless. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't throw things. I just shut everything down. Then the headlines came. Echo's founder missing. Is there a silent coup? Victor Dominic removed from sight. Investors pulled out. Partnerships dissolved. My name disappeared from the company's official press page. It all happened like a flood. Swift, cold, emotionless. I didn't react. Didn't defend myself. Didn't try to explain. It wasn't escape. It was suspension. For 10 days, I lived in that motel room. Didn't speak to anyone. Didn't turn on the television. Didn't read the news. Didn't touch a screen. Just lay there, listening to the tick of the wall clock. It wasn't a break. Wasn't a retreat. Wasn't recovery. It was punishment. A quiet sentence I gave myself. To sit inside the emptiness. To feel it stretch, grow, devour. No spotlight. No applause. No one by my side. Just a man, alone in the dark, trying to see if he could survive one more silent day. The line between love and self-destruction is sometimes just one click away. There's one thing I kept for years. A single sheet of paper, folded once, tucked away in the drawer of an old desk. On it only one sentence: you're a genius. But I choose to live in reality. Nothing else. No follow-up. No closure. I never reread it. I didn't need to. Every word had branded itself into my memory. I knew it like a prayer. Except it didn't free me. It imprisoned me. That wasn't just an email. It was the final document of an entire chapter of my life. I didn't print it to remember Sophia. I printed it to remember who I was. When I believed enough to give everything. The day I sent her the full source code, the financial roadmap, the admin keys, I wasn't just sending files. I was handing over the most vulnerable parts of me. No one required me to. There was no clause, no condition. I made the decision. I clicked send. And that click was the boundary line, the invisible moment where love ended and self-destruction began. I once thought true love meant total surrender, putting the other person first, believing that if you're honest, they won't hurt you. But the world doesn't work that way. And emotions, when unchecked, can turn into weapons we turn on ourselves. I wondered, even if I had known the outcome, would I still have clicked send? I'm not sure, because there are moments we don't decide with logic. We decide with a need to be trusted, to be loved, to belong. That click wasn't just technical. It was the fracture, the quiet, irreversible move, the point at which I thought I was acting in love. But in truth, I was handing over the tools to my own undoing. And that's the tragedy. It's so light, just a click, no warning alarms, no one stopping you. Everything fell apart that easily. That's when I learned, not all giving is noble. Sometimes it's just the absence of self-protection. Love should never cost you yourself. It should never leave you empty-handed. And I learned that lesson, not through books, not through advice, but through one single click that seemed harmless and changed the entire course of my life. Not rebuilding, just surviving the days. I didn't start over, not even close. Don't call it starting again. There was no beginning here. Only a man who had run out of places to hide and chose to exist. After 10 days of silence, I checked out of the motel without a word. No ID, no destination, just a backpack with 3 shirts and a toothbrush. I sold my car, not because I needed the money, but because I couldn't bear to be recognized. That sleek sports car once made me proud. Now it made me sick. A trophy of a version of me I no longer respected. I rented a small apartment in the Sunset District, far from the tech scene. 3rd floor, no elevator, no view. Every creaking stair felt like an erasure. No one knew my name. That was the point. I grocery shopped at off hours, bought only basics: rice, eggs, cheap coffee, bottled water. I didn't speak, didn't log into anything. Every morning, the first question that came to mind was, what day is it? Just to know what bills might be due. Each night, I sat for hours at a window that faced nothing special. A gray wall, a leafless tree, a rusted antenna. I didn't code, didn't read, didn't stretch, didn't dream, just moved through time like a man no one was waiting for. No calls, no questions, and oddly, I didn't need them either. Maybe if became the quiet chant I whispered to myself each day. Maybe if I hadn't sent the code. Maybe if I'd read the contract again. Maybe if I hadn't let love into the boardroom. But the hardest part wasn't the question. It was knowing I no longer believed in answers. What I lived wasn't a life. It was a sentence without a courtroom, carried out by my own hands. I didn't believe in coming back. Didn't believe in lessons learned. It was simpler than that. Open eyes in the morning, close them at night. Repeat. To the outside world, I was probably on a break. But inside, I was unraveling quietly. No chaos, no drama, just slow erosion, like a stone being worn down by rain. No one noticed. No one needed to. The deepest pain isn't being betrayed, it's knowing you chose to believe anyway. I didn't go home, didn't call my mother, didn't reply to my sister, didn't show up at any of the conferences that once invited me as the former prodigy. I vanished selectively. I avoided everyone who once cared about me because I felt I no longer deserved their care. I couldn't face my mother's eyes, the woman who once believed I would change the world. I couldn't bear to hear Clara's soft voice still texting. "Are you okay?" "I'm not mad, just worried." I stayed silent because I didn't know what to say, and I didn't believe I had the right to speak anymore. No one punished me. I punished myself. I didn't celebrate New Year's, didn't acknowledge my 27th birthday. No gifts, no candles, no phone calls, just silence in a rented room where every emotion felt locked inside a drawer I no longer had the key to. People think betrayal comes from others, but sometimes what hurts the most is realizing you forced yourself to believe in something, even when a quiet part of you knew better. I remembered Sophia once asked me, "Aren't you afraid of being fooled?" I laughed and said, "Number, I'm more afraid of living a life where I never trust anyone." I'm not laughing anymore. I believed, not because she was worthy, but because there was a desperate part of me that needed to believe. And that's where I lost myself. But the scarier part is, this wasn't the bottom. It was only the beginning of the fall. I didn't know it yet, but I was on the edge of a slide. Not into sadness, but into something deeper, darker, longer. I had thought this was the worst it could get, that surely nothing could hurt more. But soon I would learn that losing trust is just the first layer. After that comes losing control, losing yourself, and eventually losing the meaning of being alive. And in that moment, I still didn't ask for help because I didn't yet know that I was already beginning to die slowly from the inside.
I once asked Dad if you could send a reply to that email, what would you write? He paused for a long time, then said, "No need." My silence was already an answer. For me, not for her. As a child, I used to think that life's greatest tragedies came with noise. A crash, a scream, at least a goodbye. But as I grew up, I realized the things that truly break us often begin in silence. Like the way my father sat for hours in that tiny rental apartment, saying nothing. No anger, no outburst, just slowly fading inside himself. At the time, I think he believed this was the worst of it. But the truth is, it was only the beginning. The start of a slow, quiet, and far more devastating collapse. No one mentioned the company anymore. No one said, "Echo." There was no IPO. The legal documents vanished from the firm's desk drawers. The people who once called him a genius? They fell silent or pretended they never knew him. His finances drained quietly. His reputation dissolved like fog. But what he lost most was the belief that he still belonged in this world. And the scariest part? He didn't even care anymore. He didn't check his accounts, didn't read the news, didn't flinch when a former investor pulled out entirely. Inside him, the world had already cracked. And what remained, collapsing or not, no longer mattered. He was once a man who could calculate any outcome, predict trends, see 5 moves ahead. But when it came to his own heart, he chose silence. Not because he didn't see the fall coming, but because some pains, if spoken out loud, might break whatever was left of us. If you're hearing this now, maybe you, too, have once gone quiet when something in you began to fracture. Maybe you believed, even when something deep down whispered not to. If so, let this part of his story stay with you. Not to wound you, but to remind you never to ignore the quiet signs of a coming fall. Because sometimes The real tragedy isn't losing everything. It's not knowing what you're losing while you're still losing it. Hello everyone, I'm Lily, the youngest daughter of Victor Dominic. My father shared these stories, not to be remembered, but to remind us. Everyone deserves a new beginning, even the broken ones. Some names and places have been changed for privacy, but Free Your Soul is real, and it's the most precious legacy he left us. Today, I'm sharing it with you, hoping it reaches someone who needs a quiet, gentle whisper. Thank you for listening with your heart. I'll see you in the next stories.